This is by David Pakman. This is called Why is the Left Against Nuclear Power? This is kind of part of my new series where I try to react to people that I usually disagree with, just because I think it's more fun than watching videos by people that you agree with all the time.
Why don't we go next to, oh, I don't know, how about Emerson from Kansas City? Emerson from Kansas City, welcome to the David Pakman Show. What can I do for you today?
Mic check.
You're on the air.
David, thanks for accepting my call. Hope you're doing well. I was just wondering, I'm a big nuclear power advocate. I was wondering your thoughts on nuclear power as a green alternative. And then more specifically, what candidates do you think would be the best for someone like me who is worried about nuclear power going forward?
Well, listen, I don't know what the totality of your political views are, so it's hard for me to recommend a candidate for you. Let's table that part for the moment. I have said before that there is a lot of misinformation about nuclear power. There are some on the left, my friends on the left, who reflexively reject the idea of nuclear based on very old safety data about nuclear power, which, by the way, per energy generated, nuclear power is not, even old nuclear power was not particularly unsafe when you consider the...
Yeah, old nuclear power was unsafe if you, if you fumbled a bag, right, which has been done, right? We've seen multiple nuclear meltdowns. But I have heard that, some more modern ways of developing nuclear energy can, in some cases actually even be meltdown proof. So definitely agree with David Pakman's take here.
Pollution effect of generating power from coal or gas. I mean, look, I've talked about this before, but modern nuclear, if we were to build new nuclear capacity, the safety would simply not be a concern. Those concerns have really been dealt with. The issue for me with new nuclear is it takes a long time to come online, and I don't want it to supplant making strides in other forms of energy. But I don't have a problem in principle with new nuclear. I just don't think it necessarily should be like the pillar on which the left bases its platform.
That's fair. Now, I am not on board with what I would call the climate policy agenda, right? Which is, we got to move to all solar. We got to move to all wind power, green power, stop using oil, all that stuff. I'm not on board with that, but I do think that it would probably be best to try to diversify our sources of energy. Continue to use oil, continue to frack, but also continue to make advances in solar energy, continue to make advances in wind power, continue to make advances in nuclear power. And there are multiple benefits of that, right? First of all, if you have some sources of power that are cleaner than others, I think really the only source of energy that is actually green when you look at kind of like net emissions is actually nuclear power. But, there's some benefits to, solar power, to wind power to a degree as well. So if you diversify things like, I don't know, let's say you're fracking and you're running out of oil, or I don't know, it gets cold and the pipes freeze up for the pipeline. I don't know. Whatever happens and you just can't get the oil to where it needs to go, well, you still got some wind. And if the wind dies down, you still got the sun. And if the sun dies down, you still have the nuclear power. Like, it's great to have like all these redundancies just for the sake if something goes wrong in the energy chain, like the energy supply chain. So I like the idea of using everything. Not just relying on one thing or the other thing. It's like, oh, what should replace coal? What should replace oil? Like, we should just use it all, in my opinion.
Okay, that makes sense. Have you heard about the the small modular reactors that NuScale has been developing? I think that that's going to be a technology that is going to make manufacturing a lot more affordable and more quicker. It'll be able to get onto the grid a lot more quickly as well.
I've read a little bit about that. These are the ones that can do, I don't remember if it was like 300 or 400 megawatts per module or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about it. It's all interesting to me. If there's some big thing about the small modular reactors that I'm missing that makes them terrible, or I'm sure people will write in. But I think all of this technology is interesting. I'm not a nuclear advocate, but I think the reflexive anti-nuclear instincts of some on the left are a bit overblown.
Okay, and then a final question. There's been about a dozen states or so that have lifted their nuclear construction ban pretty recently, within the last year or so. You think that that's like a sign that the younger generation and more active voters are looking at nuclear and saying, why aren't we using this more often? And I want my state to be able to, implement this technology?
It strikes me as reasonable that that's why. I don't know enough about it to say definitively, but let me research that a little more.
Okay. Thank you, David.
All right. Thank you so much. Emerson from Kansas City. Nuclear, always an interesting topic.
The way that he does these videos is it's like a bunch of questions. So interesting. Let me look at these comments, right? I'm a right winger, and it'd be interesting to see some left wing comments. I'm a progressive, and I think we should build lots more plants, especially if we want a future of electric cars. Agreed. Although I think electric cars are actually worse than... the electric cars, the way that they're built today, are worse than gas vehicles, but I think there's a potential for them to be greener than gas vehicles in the future. Navy vet that was also nuclear reactor operator, wholeheartedly agree with starting up nuclear power plants in the U.S. Lack of education. Yeah, this is cool. Wait a second. There's probably more unity on the issue of using like nuclear power than most people realize. Like, why haven't we done this? We have people on the right. I've been seeing people on the right calling for using nuclear power. Now we're seeing people on the left like saying we should use nuclear power. So like, I don't see a lot of people other than maybe Vivek Ramaswamy running around saying we need to use nuclear energy. I feel like that would be an easy no-brainer to like kind of be a unifying policy, because a lot of people kind of focus on policies that are divisive and divide people, but this is a policy that I think would unite people as well. So a good take from David Pakman on this one. I have to say I agree on this.